So you've seen a bunch of tutorials on the map function, or at the very least seen the one time. And you may think that, hey, this map business is easy. But no, it's not. You could do so much more than what they teach you. And no disrespect to them. They are good and well explained, and I'll use them myself. But they just aren't that in depth. They don't get into the nitty gritty. They don't explain, when you come up to this problem, this is how you might do it. That you might not think the map function can do, for example. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. As fully as I can, I'm going to explain the map function so that you aren't left in the dark. First, a very simple bare bones overview. How a map function works is we have our initial function. In this case, the function is called uppercase and makes every letter an uppercase letter. It could be really any function, integer for example. So we have the function, and instead of applying this function individually to each and every item in the list or item in the tuple or whatever we have, you can use the map function to apply that to everything. So you would have the initial list of high, blah, and box. And what the map function does is it applies uppercase to all of them at once. So you have high in uppercase, blah, all caps, box, all caps. Now I'm going to explain very briefly on why you might want to use the map function. The map function returns an iterator, meaning that the function can be applied lazily, i.e. only when the elements are accessed. This means that it can be more memory efficient than the list comprehension for large datasets. Now, if we're going to compare the map function with list comprehension, which I briefly touched on, is that thing where you have one line of code that represents a for loop or another function. So when you compare it with that, they can achieve very similar results, but the map function is often more readable, and as I previously mentioned, it can handle larger datasets more efficiently. Just to go over the bare bones of what the map does before I go into more complicated stuff, it applies every function, in this case string, which is a built-in Python function, and it applies this to every list, every item in the list, or if it's a tuple, every item in the tuple, if it's a set, every item in the set. Same thing. So it converts all of this into a string. As you can see, 4 is an integer and not a string. So the result is 4 is now a string because it applies string to everything, including that. If we go over here, this is a very basic function. I will go more depth specifically into this a bit later. But right now what it does is it takes in an argument x and it returns it as an integer. If it cannot return it as an integer, it returns it as none. And this is done through the try except function. I made a short video on this, a short try except. It's quite useful and quite powerful. The map function grabs the function safe underscore convert and applies it to data. Data is this list right here. And so it iterates through it. So 10, it converts it into an integer and that works. 20 doesn't, because 20 is spelled out in English in a word, so it cannot be converted into an integer. So it will return none. 30 is fine, is already an integer. 40 will convert it into 40 as an integer. 30 appears again. Because it's a set over here, there's no duplicates, so this wouldn't happen. Also, because it's set, the order is not maintained, so that's another thing to keep in mind on. And if I run the program, you can see none, that refers to this 20 over there, then 10, 40, 30. Now, this function over here is very, very similar to this function over here. What it does, it takes in an argument, and if that argument is a digit, so it takes in an argument as a string, if that argument is a digit, then it returns the integer of that. If it's not, it returns -1. And this could be useful in whatever application you have where you take in data and it has to be an integer. You can also do it as a float. So if I do this, it can work as a float, for example. And it works just as the same. This time I made it into a tuple. So just to show that it can work as a list, set, or even tuple. And it's the very similar process, same exact thing. Same process, just applies the function to everything. And here, this is exactly the same as this. As you can see, I ran the results and it's exactly the same. The only reason why this is a list is because I put list over here. This is the lambda function. And if you are uncertain of lambdas, it's fine for now. It's just as a brief overview, it's exactly the same as this. It's just a one-off function that you can use one-off. You can recreate the lambda function, yes, but if you want to call the same exact lambda function, you can't. You would have to retype the whole thing. I have a more simple lambda function here, which I'll get onto in just a moment. Just to quickly explain this, it takes in an argument, just like this, and it tries to convert it into an integer. If it's a digit, it does that. If it's not, if it turns out as -1, applies to everything else. Same exact thing as you can see here. This is more simple example. It takes in an argument and it squares it and applies it everything over here. And as you can see, it works. For the next one is this. This is a zip, and I've explained zip in a previous video. This is just going over quickly. Previously, if you're gonna try and do this, really want the output to be something like that, you could use map. If you're still using Python 2, you can use map. If you're not using Python 2, which most likely you're not, you have to use zip. So that's just something to keep in mind. And there it is. And this is the result of the squared. This is where it gets interesting. If you remember from a previous thing, just quite recently, just say convert, you can tell that it has a none, and that's because it returns none as part of it. Now, often you don't want that, and this is where you use the map function with another function called filter. I'll explain filter in another video, but what filter does is exactly what it says. It filters out something that you don't want. So I have this, same exact code, except it is now filtering none. So if it returns none, it kicks out. It just removes it completely. So that's what that does. Now this bit is exactly the same. When you're dealing with these kind of equations or functions, you have to remember it goes from the smallest to largest. Think of it like that. So it does the map function first, and this works exactly the same. If we go above, this is what is returned basically. Now, obviously, it's not returned as a set, it's returned as a map object. If I didn't want it as a set, I would have to do this. So now this is a set. So this can work where you just do it on where you filter it through a set or list or whatever. So this works, and you can also do it as a list or tuple or whatever. But that's basically what it is. It returns this as an iterable without the sets, and then applies the set after it filters out to none. So this will return, it wouldn't return none, it just wouldn't. What would happen is, it will return this without the none. If this was a set, over here it would still work, list still work. So that's one way we can use the map function in combination with something else. When you're dealing with maps, it can only work as a single argument. If you want to work with more arguments, you can use star map. This is built within Python, and it works just like the map function, except it allows you to apply the function to each element in the iterable. So if you're requiring multiple arguments, e.g. functions that expect two numbers, star map is useful. But it's quite useful when you're dealing with multiple arguments, multiple data sets that you need to do all at once. And this is how it works. So you have your pairs. This is a list of tuples. It can work as a list of lists. If you're going to use sets, be careful because sets do not retain the order. It can cause an issue there. But what we have here is pairs, lists of tuples. Now this is where the beauty happens. First of all, it does all of this into a list. So the end result will be a list. Next, it applies star map, which is from here. And what does, it grabs the function lambda and it takes in two arguments, x and y. So this would be 2 and 3. That's one argument, 3 and 4, 4 and 5. So it takes in a pair. Each of this is a pair and it takes one pair. And it times them together and it does that to all the pairs. It then returns it as a list. And this, you can do this for more stuff. So if I do z, for example, and I want times x times y plus z, let's say. And then over here, I'll need to add a third element. I'll need to rerun this code, and you can see that you can handle many more elements than just one. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10. You know it works. Sorry I had to zoom out a bit, it's just so you can see the entire code more clearly. If you're going to create your own class and your own object, you can use the map function to great effect, and this is how you would do it. So let's say you have a class. This is a very simple class, it's just person. and person has name and has age. So Alice is 30, Bob is 25. And it has one method, or one thing it can do, and that is get order. So right now they have all of these objects in a list. You have Alice in the list and I have Bob in the list. These are 0, 1 in the indexes, or just 1, 2. 2 persons in a list. You can use the map function to add age to each of them, because you might know the theory, but you might not know how to use it with classes. You might be unsure. And this is what it is. You have p.getOrder, which is this right over here. P is just the argument you're placing in, so it could really be anything. But you have getOrder, and it takes in years or an age, which is most likely an integer, but I guess it can be 5.5. It depends on your circumstance. So it just takes in this and applies it to people. Now people are Alice and then people are Bob. And you can do this without creating the object within the list. So you can set the objects previously as human1 and human2. Very creative names, I know. And you can put that into a list and then iterate over that list. So you don't have to declare the object within the list. And if you print out human1.age, you can see it's now 35. Because Alice was 30, you add 5, it's now 35. Obviously, you might not want to have a class person. It might be a game or something where you have enemies, all of that, and the character, I don't know, picks up an object and applies a flat out carpet damage to everything. This is where it might be useful. And as previously mentioned, the map function is quicker. So if you're dealing with a lot of stuff in the game, it might be worth it in the long run. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful, leave a like. If you hated it a lot, if you think I said the word "and" too much, leave a dislike. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.